Hey everyone, and welcome to the You vs. Mind podcast. My name is Jack Leake, and I am super excited that out of all the podcasts you had to choose from, you chose this one, and you won't regret it. Here on You vs. Mind, we dive into the heart of the mental battle and provide you with effective strategies to fight, face-to-face, the things like stress and anxiety that plague us all, as well as looking into the root of the issue and digging up testimonies and stories from people and their bout with these trials. It is time to escape the lies we tell ourselves and take back what is ours. And my job is to make sure you don't do it alone. Are you ready? So John, thank you for joining me here on the You vs. Mind podcast. I'm super excited to have you with me today, and we'll dive into some of the details here in a moment. But first, I thought I'd give you the floor and let you introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, okay. So my name is John Redford. I'm a current high school senior at Lake County High School. I'm going to plan on going to Cedarville University in the fall, which is going to be exciting. I'm excited to do that. Some of my favorite things that I enjoy are basketball, tennis, really anything sports related, whether that's like volleyball or spike ball or cornhole, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have some interests that I am really interested in, and maybe potential major is really just learning about the Bible as one of my main interests. I also like reading history. In the fall, I plan on, right now, I think I might be studying like theology or principles of the Bible, you know, maybe not being a pastor, but, you know, something along that line.
Yeah, that's super cool. And Cedarville's an awesome school. That's where your sister, AKA my girlfriend, went. And it's a great school and awesome for learning about the Bible and diving into that. And we'll get into that later. But now I kind of want to transition into why I had you on, because John, you're a unique individual, whether you realize it or not, because you don't really have anxiety, or as we called it yesterday, it's not really one of the demons that you struggle with. So I thought it'd be good to invite you on and tell everyone how you have found success. The first thing I wrote down when I decided to interview you was your physical health and your exercising. So just tell us a little bit about how you stay physically fit, both nutritionally and physically, and how you think that's impacted your lack of dealing with anxiety.
Yeah. So first off, I mean, we have a weights program at our high school, which helps with me lifting weights. I mean, sometimes I run on my own, or I do other workouts just to train different parts of my body, because I think a lot about the Bible when God says that we are a temple, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to make sure I take care of my body for the Lord, because the Lord is a resident of my body. At the weights program in our high school, it's helped me a lot to just, you know, when I get in there, I don't really have to think about anything else but improving myself and getting better and pushing myself to be a better person. And lifting weights makes me feel like I accomplish things, and it doesn't make me feel like I'm not doing anything. It makes me feel productive, which helps me feel good about myself. I mean, honestly. And then lifting weights has also impacted the way that I eat, because in order to perform well, I need to eat right. And when I eat right, then I can perform in the way that I want to perform. And when you eat right, then it also, again, feels good about yourself, and you're able to think clearly. You don't feel bad when you eat a bunch of crap food, you know? Because those types of foods with preservatives and additives physically affect your emotional and physical state.
Yeah. And I covered, Isabel and I, rather, in the second episode here on the podcast, covered essentially all of what you just said. Mm-hmm. You know, exercise, nutrition, that's huge. And some of my best days personally, in terms of having anxiety or lack thereof that day, come on days where I was organized. I did work out. I did eat something good. I did lift weights. So it's just a good testament to hear you have success with what is known to work. Oh, yeah. And you mentioned you look at your body as a temple, and you live through Christ. Right. And so just touch on how you feel your relationship with Jesus Christ has influenced your good standing in terms of in your anxiousness.
Yeah. So I think probably the most time, like when I'm stressed the most, is if my relationship with God is not best.
Yeah, same.
Like when I'm far from God, or I feel like I've done something, or something's not right in my spirit, then I know I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I'll go on this like almost like a panic attack, because I'm like, I don't want to be far from God. I can't be far from God. If I'm far from God, then I'm going to spiral like this. This is not going to happen. So, I mean, that's probably the most when I'm stressed. But then when I find that peace, when I find that space with Jesus, then I'm able to slow myself down and be like, you know what, everything's going to be okay, because all my hope is put in him. And no matter what happens or what the world throws at me, I can trust God to provide for me, trust God to give me what I need, trust God to protect me. So.
And I think that, there's battles on earth and there's battles spiritually. And sometimes losing those battles spiritually can cause us to lose some of those battles on earth. Right. So have you noticed that connection? Like, you don't really struggle with anxiety per se. But has there ever been a time in your life, maybe where you were losing spiritually and you saw the effects on earth? Like, has there been a span in your life where you did really struggle with some anxiousness?
Well,
it's okay
maybe not
if
anxiousness, but probably something else. And after a while, like I just started, like, I didn't want to talk to God because I felt like he didn't love me, or he wouldn't want to hear my cry to him because I'd done something so horrible, or I didn't do something right. And I just felt, and I would stay up late because I hated who I was and the image that I was, because I thought God saw me the same way that I saw me, which is completely not true. And so then I would just go to day and I'd be like so tired, be so lazy, and it's not who God wants me to be. So
I love that you see it that way. Almost kind of like, you're setting a standard and you're setting a performance-based mindset for the Lord. And that's something I was going to ask you about, is your lifestyle. And we'll touch on the details of that here after this break. I hope you're enjoying this episode of You versus Mind. If you have questions or comments of any sort, please feel free to email me at jleake2015@gmail.com. That's JLEAKE2015@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So, John, you have a very unique lifestyle as well, because you're involved in sports basically every season of the school year. I know you do cross country in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then you do tennis in the spring, which you've just started. Good luck with that, by the way. You're known to be that good kid, which is great. That kid that succeeds, that kid that everybody likes. So with all this performance-based lifestyle that you live every day, have you felt any pressure and nerves come with that? Right. And how do you deal with it if it does come?
So yes, definitely. Like you always have that thought, like, am I going to be able to perform? Am I going to be able to do what my coaches asked me to do? Am I going to make the right decision in the heat of the moment? And then again, I mean, Bible, as I said, Jesus is like the center of everything. So like for me, I would say that when I am in those situations, I say, Lord, I know that you're my strength, you're my shield. If I ask you, you will help me. So it's like, well, if I am in those situations, God going to give me everything that I need. I also think about, if God puts me in those situations, then he's going to give me everything for those situations, because everything he's put before me is what he wants me to walk into. And if he wants me to walk into, then he's given me the ability to either learn from them or to walk through them successfully.
And that's so hard to maintain, and you already touched on moments that you have struggled with that spiritual mindset, but you're so strong. And I have to applaud you in that because, John, you and I are pretty close, and you're somebody who I look up to whenever I'm going through those moments. Okay, how should I go about this moment in my life? How should I approach my faith? You're somebody that I reflect on when I'm trying to make those decisions. So I just applaud you for who you are and the way that you live and how you handle the high performance based and the pressured situations that you face. And you touched on how, whatever situation or feeling that you have, God puts you there. So knowing that, and this is something you touched on, but maybe not everybody knows, you're going to Cedarville University, which is in Ohio, which is 13 hours away from where you're at now. So how have you handled, and I know you're excited about it and it's where you want to be, but have
Mm-hmm.
you dealt with any doubt or worries about being so far away from your loved ones and friends?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, at first, I didn't even know if that's where God wanted me to go. And for me, I was just like, man, I don't know where to go to college. Cedarville feels like, it could be right, but we don't have the finance to go there, or I don't want to be so far away from my parents, or, just the way of comfort and lifestyle I'm used to living. So I was just kind of like, Cedarville had a $250 down payment that you have to pay to, like, say you're coming. And so I was like, you know what? If God wants me to go there, we're just going to go ahead and put the 250 down, and we can refund it if God doesn't provide the funds. So I was originally getting a $14,000 academic scholarship to go there. And after we put the $250 down, about 3 weeks later, we ended up getting 8 weeks over the course of that $8,000 over the course of that 3 weeks.
Wow.
So like it was just a total confirmation that God wanted me to go there. And with that confirmation, I felt like, you know what, even if I am 13 hours away, God's going to make it, like, I'm still going to be able to connect with my family. I'm still going to be able to, like, talk to my old friends, but I know God wants me to go there, and I'm going to walk in that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this is something too that I wanted to ask you. Have you ever stumbled upon, and God is never wrong, I'm not saying God has given you a false confirmation, but have you ever maybe presumed something was a confirmation from God and been wrong? Has there been a situation like that?
That's a good one. I guess I could say sometimes when I feel like I should pray for people, like, when you say, like, you want to pray for people, like, you sometimes get you think, oh, well, God wants me to pray for them, but really it's your own self, like, it's your own worry for them that is actually telling you to pray for them. And so maybe that's, I guess I really don't have a good example of that, but that's what I would say is sometimes my own want to be like, Lord, heal them. Lord, may they know who Jesus is. May you make the best for your love. But really, it's just me being like, God, they need you, and it's really not God's timing for them.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, and especially on the spot. That's not a prompt that I told you prior to this, so that is a good answer, and that's very relatable as well. And I was going to ask you about one more line of support in your life, but we'll take a break real quick. I hope you're enjoying this episode of You versus Mind. If you have questions or comments of any sort, please feel free to email me at jleake2015@gmail.com. That's JLEAKE2015@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. So, John, I know that you're a big family guy, and your family's really close, and there's good relationships throughout all your family. Talk about how your family, and even some of your friends, if you want, have helped you in overcoming any areas of your life that have been negative, maybe in terms of anxiousness as well. How have your family and friends helped you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'd like to start with my parents. They've been like the biggest people. They've always told me to go to the Bible, find verses over what I'm struggling with, maybe like a test coming up, or maybe like I tell my mom sometimes, I'm like, man, I don't know if this paper is good enough, and she reminds me of how much I've learned, how much I've overcome, what papers I've done in the past that have been really good. Or like my dad will tell me sometimes, so on tests, he'd be like, don't worry about it. You studied hard, trust in your ability. So it's just those little words of encouragement that keep me going. Oh yeah. And it's like, when I take those tests, when I do those things, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then it goes back to what I said earlier about God being like, he put me in that situation. He's given me the mind to do what's in front of me. So just got to walk in that. And then I like to add my sister, she's a big supporter of who I am and just anything that I want to pursue. I've changed my mind on my career a bunch of different times, and she's always there kind of be like, you know what, whatever God leads you in, go pursue that. And so, because choosing a career is very that is what you're going to do for the rest of your life potentially. And so that's a big step to walk into. And so she's just kind of been there, been like, you know what, do whatever, like pray into those things that you may want to do, but let God lead you.
Yeah, that's great. And it's good for everyone to have those reinforcements.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's unfortunately maybe not their family and they have to go to outside sources. But for you, I think it's great that you have that family and that connection. John, as we kind of wind things down here for this episode, we usually cover here on You Versus Mind in each episode a strategy of how to approach anxiety. And the whole reason to have you on here was to see anxiety through the eyes of someone who maybe doesn't struggle with it, at least on a high level. But when you do get nervous, anxious, stressed, what do you do?
So the first thing is obviously go to God. I mean, that is the biggest thing that any of us can ever do, because God is the sole provider, creator. He knows everything that's going to happen past. He knows everything that has happened and everything that will happen. And so for me, when I go to God, it's like, okay, I'm going to settle myself down. The Lord is my peace. The Lord is my comforter. Okay, God, this task that is in front of me, I surrender to you, because without you, I'm not going to be able to overcome. And so I then see that, again, God has given me the ability to do what is in front of me. And if he doesn't, I say, Lord, give me the strength, extra strength that I need for this task. I base everything solely on you. And and then secondly, I'd go to my parents. I'm really struggling with this. I've asked God for help, but I think I need something else from you, because fellowship is good in those situations as well, because it allows us as a group of believers to encourage one another and to give added affirmation to walk into things. So I think that would be the second thing. And then the third thing would be potentially spend more time in prayer. Like if something is just really bugging you and you just need to sit at the feet of Jesus, whether that's just play worship music and just literally sit there, or just pray what's on your mind and just let it come out of you. So those would probably be my three biggest things that I do. I don't struggle with it a lot, as you said, but for those that do, that's what I do. So.
Yeah, and those are great strategies. And I think that you talked about going to your parents. I think that that's something that people are sometimes embarrassed to do. So for some people, even for certain situations, it would be easier to go to somebody who I don't know, or maybe I'm not as close with, than my parents. Yeah. But whenever I go to my parents about something, or I do have something that, okay, I need to tell my parents, I walk away feeling so much better knowing that that person in my life knows this. And you even maybe find yourself getting a lot of benefits in return hearing it from your parents. So if you're listening to this and you're kind of bottling up your feelings in terms of maybe from your relatives or whoever you're close with, go to them and try it. And I think you'll be surprised at what happens. John, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Talk about health, family, and your faith, and all those three things you have essentially mastered. I know there's always room for improvement, and I know you're not going to stop working towards perfection. But those three things have really helped you not struggle with anxiety. So, John, thanks for coming on and giving us a different perspective on this thing.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless. Thank you for joining me for this edition of You Versus Mind. My hope is that you are now more prepared to take on your mind when it attacks than you were at the beginning of the podcast. Podcasts on this show are weekly, so be sure and tune in next week for additional weapons to add to your mental arsenal. You can find You Versus Mind on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I would love to talk to you and answer any questions you may have, or just have a conversation. Again, you can reach out to me at jleake2015@gmail.com. That's JLEAKE2015@gmail.com. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and God bless.